Life as We Knew It by Susan Beth Pfeffer. Page 79, Chapter 6. June 11th. Dad called, or rather he called and got through. He's been trying to call, he said, several times a day for the past 2 weeks. We all believed him because we've been trying to call him and never got through. It was great to hear his voice. He said he and Lisa were fine and there were no problems with her pregnancy. He said the supermarkets in Springfield were all closed, but the two of them had a fair amount of food in the house. So far, so good. Mom also got a call from Johnny's camp today, and they're still planning on being open. So the plan remains for Johnny to go to camp, and then Mom and I'll drive up there, get him, and she'll drive us to Springfield. Dad asked Matt if he'd be coming also, but Matt said he thought Mom would need him around in August, so he'd be staying home. I know that hurt Dad, even though it's probably true and Dad probably knows that. Anyway, Dad said maybe Matt could come along for the drive and at least see him and Lisa. We could all have dinner together. For a moment, we forgot that all the restaurants are closed. For a moment, things were normal again. Matt said that sounded like a good plan to him, and Mom said she'd enjoy having the company on the drive home. Johnny asked if Dad had heard anything about the Red Sox. Dad said he thought they were okay, but he really didn't know. I feel like Dad should have known Johnny was going to ask, and he should have been able to answer. He could have lied, after all, and said they were all fine. Although, knowing what a Yankee fan Johnny is, maybe Dad should have just said Fenway had floated out to sea. June 12th. Peter dropped by this afternoon, bringing us a can of spinach. I know it's good for me, he said, but I really can't stand the stuff. Mom laughed like she used to. Stay for supper, she said. I promise I won't serve spinach. I can't, he said. I shouldn't be taking time off now, but I needed to escape, if only for an hour. We all sat in the sunroom, happy to have a visitor, but it was obvious Peter wasn't relaxing. Finally, Mom said, if this is a house call, at least tell us what we're sick with. Peter laughed, but it was the kind of half-hearted laugh I'm used to hearing these days. You're not sick with anything, he said. But I did want to tell you to start using off or any other kind of insect repellent you might have. And if you still know a place where you can buy some, do. Pay whatever it costs, but get it. Why? Johnny asked. I don't think Mom or Matt or I really wanted to know. I've seen 3 cases of West Nile virus in the past week, Peter replied. I'm hearing from other doctors that they're seeing cases too. I've heard rumors of malaria. Friend of a friend stories, but that doesn't mean they're not true. Mosquito-borne illnesses, Matt said. Exactly, Peter said. The mosquitoes seem to be happy, even if no one else is. I know I have some off left over from last summer, Mom said, but I don't know how long it'll last. Cover yourself up, Peter said. Wear socks and long-sleeve shirts and pants when you're outside. No perfume. And if you even think you feel a mosquito, swat at it. All of which I'm sure is very good advice, but I still plan on swimming at Miller's Pond. I don't know what I'll do if Mom tries to stop me. June 15th. It rained for the past couple of days, bad thunderstorms. No blackouts, though. No electricity at all, so no blackouts. This morning the electricity came on for a few minutes, and when it did, Johnny said, Hey, it's a black on! This is what passes for humor around here. Actually, it was kind of cozy in the rain. We couldn't go anywhere, so we stayed in and read books and played games and pretended not to worry. It was like being snowed in, only without any snow. But today the sun was shining, and even though the moon glows disconcerting in the daytime, the sun is still a pleasant relief. No humidity, temperature in the high 80s, just about perfect weather. So without telling Mom, I slipped my bathing suit on, put on jeans and a shirt over it, and went to Miller's Pond. I got there around 10, and there were already a few other people there taking advantage of the good weather. Dan was among them, and it was great to see him. We swam laps, raced, he won but not by much, and played water tag with a few other swimmers. It felt like summer vacation. After we got out of the water, we dried ourselves off in the sunlight. It's a little marshy around Miller's Pond, and we had to swat at mosquitoes, but even that felt like summer. Dan and I talked as we laid in the sun. First we tried to talk about unimportant stuff, but of course these days there isn't much in important stuff. Next year I'll be a senior, he said, assuming there's school next year. Assuming there's a next year. There'll be a next year, I said. At that moment, it was impossible to think otherwise. Dan grinned. I notice you're not guaranteeing there'll be a school, he said. With my luck, there will be, I said, and my grades from this year will count. My parents and I were going to look at some colleges this summer, he said. Check out some schools on the way to my grandparents. They live in Florida. He paused for a moment. Lived, he said. We saw their names on a list. I'm sorry, I said. They liked it down there, he said. They kept real busy. We think it probably happened fast, with the first tsunamis. Their place was right on the ocean, so that's probably what happened. My mother's parents have been dead forever, I said, since Mom was a little girl. Her grandparents raised her right where we live now. My dad's mother is in Las Vegas, and we're pretty sure she's okay. I try not to think about it, he said. What'll happen next? But of course I do, and I get so angry. I know it's nobody's fault, but the government should have done something. Like what? I asked. It could have warned people, he said. It could have evacuated people from the coastlines, even if it turned out to be a false alarm. And there's got to be something they could do about electricity and gas prices and food. Somewhere there's got to be supplies of food that aren't getting to us. I guess I don't think it does much good to be angry, I said. We both swatted at mosquitoes, and suddenly we laughed. It was balletic, swatting in unison. And then Dan said the most amazing thing. If there is a world, Dan said, and if there is a school, would you go to the prom with me next year? I insist on a corsage, I said, and a limo. A stretch, he said, and orchids. You in a tux, I said, me in a formal gown. We'll be king and queen of the prom, Dan said. I'd be honored, your majesty, I said. Dan bent over and kissed my hand. Our faces met, and we kissed, really kissed. It was the most romantic moment of my life, and it would have been even more romantic if some little boy hadn't yelped, "Ew, kissing, yuck," which ruined the mood. Dan walked me home, and we kissed again at the back door. It's a date, he said. I'll see you before then, won't I asked. The prom won't be for another year. He laughed. Meet me at the pool tomorrow, he said, at 10 if it isn't raining. I will, I said, and we kissed goodbye. It was a completely magical moment, so naturally it was spoiled by Johnny. He opened the door, caught a glimpse of Dan, and said, Mom's on the warpath. Better talk to her. I found Mom in the sunroom. Where were you? She shouted. Out, I said, one of the great all-time answers. Out? I know that. Where out? What have you been doing? Swimming, I said, at Miller's Pond, which I intend to keep doing all summer long, so don't give me any lectures about mosquitoes, okay? I don't think I've ever seen Mom look so angry. For a moment, I actually thought she was going to hit me, which she's never ever done. I'm not a complete idiot, so I apologized. I'm sorry, I said. What exactly did I do wrong? You left here without telling me where you were going or how long you'd be gone, Mom said. I didn't realize I had to, I said. I've gone out without telling you for years now. These are not normal times, she said, but I could see she'd calmed down if only a little. I thought you were old enough to realize that. And I thought I was old enough to go out in broad daylight without it being some kind of crisis, I said. Age has nothing to do with it, she said. How would you feel if you turned around and couldn't find me and had no idea where I'd gone or why or when I'd be back? Think about that, Miranda. How would you feel? So I did think about it, and my stomach clenched up. I'd be terrified, I admitted. Mom half smiled. Good, she said. I'd hate to think you wouldn't miss me. Mom, I'm sorry, I said. The truth is, I was afraid you'd tell me I couldn't go, and I wanted to so much, so I snuck out. I really am sorry. Why would I tell you couldn't go? She asked. Because of the mosquitoes, I said. West Nile virus and malaria and all that. Oh yeah, Mom said. All that. I took a deep breath and waited for Mom to tell me never to leave the house again. But she didn't say anything. Well, I said, so she could say no and I could yell at her and we could get into a really bad fight. Well, what? She said. Can I go to Miller's Pond?